him. Well, Elder Green, there's no way for me to give God everything that he gives to me. I know that it is physically impossible for you to give God everything to him like what he gives to you. It is definitely impossible. I cannot match God in quantity, because every day he's giving me something fresh, giving me something new, giving me something that I've never seen, never felt, never experienced before. I cannot match him in quantity, but there is one thing that I can match him in, and that is quality. And oftentimes, many of us, we get sidetracked with the quantity that we lose sight of how we can give him a better quality. I want you to look at everything that God has blessed you with and every door that God has opened for you. There is nothing that God has given to you that is decrepit and old and used and filthy, but everything that God has given to you, he has given you his best. So why is it that many of us, we are so partial and what it is that we get? I'm not just talking about money, but I'm talking about your time. I'm talking about your thoughts. I'm talking about your conversation. I'm talking about what you consider in your heart. Why is it that we often give him partial sacrifices? You must understand that it is your demonstration that is the reflection of your revelation. And my revelation comes from exposure to the one for whom I demonstrate. In other words, Jesus makes it very clear for us in Luke's Gospel, the 21st chapter. The Bible said that Jesus was in the presence of all of the wealthy men. And the Bible said that while they were casting their gifts into the offering pan, they were giving their thousands and giving their hundreds and giving their 50s and giving their 30s. But there was one woman who walked up, Pop Melton, and the Bible said that she put 2 pennies. Everybody say 2 pennies. She put 2 pennies in the pan. Now, some folk would have looked at her 2 pennies and tried to measure it up to the 50 and the 100 and the 1,000. And they would have said this woman should have come up a little bit higher. But Jesus calls the entire congregation to order and says, just a second, I need to make an announcement. Because this woman has not just given some of what she has, but this woman has given all that she has. And Brother Jeffrey, what she has given, Jesus said, it is greater than everything that y'all gave. Because what you gave of your substance. You gave out of your overflow. You gave gifts that you will never miss. But this woman gave everything that she had. You gave what you felt like God deserved for right now. But this woman had no reservation for her tomorrow. For she understood that I've got to give God all that I have if I want him to fix all that I don't have. Good God Almighty. And I say that to say this. This woman was obviously giving off of her personal revelation about God. She understood who it was that she was giving to. And Elder Green, I've come to the understanding that the reason why many of us are somewhat partial in what it is that we give to God is because we have a better revelation of men that we give to than a revelation of the God that we give to. And I knew it would get real quiet right there. Some folk only give their time and give their efforts when they hear the voice of the one that they like calling them. But I want to know, can you give to God when you don't hear your favorite voice calling you? But beyond all of the flesh you hear, you can hear God calling you. I've come to tell somebody, God is sick and tired of us picking our favorites and choosing when we will serve and when we will not serve. Can I tell you, God did not save you to become selective in your service, but God saved you because he said, if I can give you all of me, then you should be able to give me all of you. And I don't have to have my favorite preacher preaching for me to come to church, because if God is there, then everything that I need is in the house. I dare you to look at somebody and tell them he's here right now. See, I want you to understand the quality, and I'm going to challenge you today, but it's all right. You're going to love me after. The quality of your sacrifice, it reflects the quality of your heart. I'll say that again. The quality of your sacrifice reflects the quality of your heart. And this is why I want to ask you this question. Are you really treating God like your lover, or are you treating God like a beggar? Because some of us don't treat God like he's really God. We treat God with a tolerance. I'll tolerate it this Sunday, but I'm not tolerating having to give all next time. And it amazes me how we have this tolerance for God when he looks at you and all the mess and the junk you take him through and being disobedient and being unfaithful. It is amazing to me that let me ask you this. Do you really believe if many of us treated our wives and our husbands like we treat God, they would still be with us? Because how would you feel if your mate only communicated on Sunday? How would you feel if your wife only gave to you when she wanted something? I heard a uh-oh. Everybody say uh-oh. How would you feel, watch this, if what was given, it was conditional? See, we don't treat, some of us, and not all of us, but some of us, we don't treat God like we should. And this is why in John the 21st chapter, Jesus begins to give Peter a lesson, because the Bible said that he speaks to him and says, Peter, do you love me? And he said, Lord, you know I love you. And Jesus came around again a second time and said, I got to ask you one more time, Peter, do you love me? He said, Lord, thou knowest that I love you. Jesus came back a third time and said, Peter, I got to ask you one more time. He said, Simon, do you love me? And he said, now, wait a minute, Lord, you starting to tick my nerve now. You have already asked me twice, and now you're asking me a third. You know that I love you. Now, Simon did not realize it, but Jesus was teaching him a lesson about love with no boundaries. Because when he asked him the first time, do you love me? Jesus was not talking about the same kind of love that Simon was talking about. Because when Simon said, I love you, he was Deacon Brown, he was talking about phileo love. Do I have any students here today? Now, phileo love, it is a love of fondness. I like you, I love you, I'm fond of you, but there are boundaries that I have for anything or anybody else that is attached to you. But when Jesus said, do you love me? Jesus was not talking about phileo love, but Jesus was talking about agape love. Because agape love is a love that has no boundaries, which means not only do I love you, but I love everything that is attached to you. And that's why Jesus said to him, do you really love me? Because I'm getting ready to go off the scene, and I can't leave my church to somebody who has a fondness for me but not my church. Y'all not going to talk to me here. Look at somebody and ask them, do you have phileo or do you have agape? Now, this is not to disregard phileo, because phileo, it sets the platform. It's like a first date. But after I get phileo, I've got to mature to the place where I can embrace agape. Where I don't only love Jesus, but I can love everything else that concerns him. Now, I dare you look at somebody and ask him, how are you loving? How are you loving? God is looking for somebody to mature to the place that I don't only love God based off of my relationship with whoever introduced me to Christ, but I can go beyond that and start loving everybody else and start loving the work and loving the church. I can love you even when you hate me, because I got agape on the end. You can walk by me and don't say nothing. You can walk by me and not support nothing, but I got agape in my heart, and my agape helps me to love you beyond your nasty boogerish behavior.